Welcome back to the Mic Drop, where we explore how innovation and intelligence are reshaping the future of dentistry. Today's guest is someone who I think truly represents the intersection of patient centered care and forward thinking operations, Dr. Chris Salierno, Chief Dental Officer at Tend. And you might know Tend as the group that redefined, what going to the dentist feels like with the hospitality inspired model that turns clinical care into a beautifully branded tech enabled experience. But I think what's equally fascinating is how that same spirit of innovation led them to embrace AI, not just as a buzzword, but as a fully operational initiative. Dr. Chris, welcome to the show. We are so glad to have you here.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to start by taking it back to just the early days of Tend. What was the inspiration behind, I guess, creating this sort of dental experience that's really rooted in hospitality?
Yeah, it's something that I've been talking about for years in my practice management lectures. Start your business model with a target demographic, a core demographic or two that you want to serve, and that's really the first place you go to as you build the rest of the business model. Then the rest of the decisions you have to make when you're creating a brand new business start to fall into place. And I've been with Tend coming up on 4.5 years now. And before I came to Tend, some very smart people came in and had a similar approach. They said, we want to be something really special. We want to create a unique value proposition for urban professionals, in particular, young urban professionals. That's not a demographic that many other small or larger practices have considered. So, what does an urban professional want from their dental visit? In particular, what does a young urban professional want from their dental visit? And as we started to go through the list of what that might look like, that would help us be distinguished, be different. We like to say we're dental done differently. We're different because we're really thoughtful about that demographic. One of the things that bubbled to the top was this hospitality forward experience. And it means a lot more than just being nice to people. I would hope every dental practice is nice to their
You never
patients.
know.
You never know. I would hope that they're nice,
Yeah.
but hospitality forward, if you think about, the most amazing meals you've had at really high-end restaurants, maybe they have a Michelin star or two or three. If you think about incredible hotels and resorts you've stayed at, they are incredible at hospitality, but they're also thoughtful about whom they are appealing to whom they're appealing. And it's not going to be the same experience for
Right.
every single person. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Be something really special to a target demographic. So for young urban professionals, especially young, that started to fall into place a number of things. Being hospitable meant having our own app that you could use to do all that paperwork and medical history and all that stuff before you walk into the practice. It meant being able to book an appointment without having to call and talk to someone. Like those are some of those hiccups that our target demographic might hit at some other
Right.
practices that we turned into conveniences. That is hospitality, right?
Yeah.
So technology and that patient journey was all very thoughtful, and we were strategic about it as we were creating that hospitality forward model. It wasn't just being nice to people.
I love that. I can imagine with such a specific target population that you may have experienced some challenges or even skepticism, right? Launching this model that really prioritized their unique patient experience. How do you navigate that? How did you really think about that in terms of like clinical excellence, right? You're specifically targeting that population. What did that look like for you guys?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I ran a practice for years that was in Long Island and was also catering to that busy business person, that professional, more in a suburban setting. And when I came to Tend, I heard some of those brand promises, some of the things they were showcasing as this is how we do dental differently. And I was like, really, that's an interesting thing that they've made an investment in that. But so I myself was one of those skeptics. We have I'll give one example. We have a room called the brushery. So they thought, we have a patient that comes to the practice. They're about to get a cleaning, but they didn't brush their teeth after they had
Mm,
breakfast, and so
clever.
they feel embarrassed. And in my own practice, we would just like, okay, I guess we can give you your toothbrush and
Yep.
toothpaste at the beginning
Sure,
of the
we'll
visit
wait 5
instead of
extra
at the
minutes for
end.
you to do that when we're already running behind. We know how
Yeah,
that
and
goes.
like, you run then you have to go to the bathroom to do
Mhm.
it, right? Well, we created a wonderful moment to celebrate your oral health. It's branded, our patterns. There's all these cool things about the 10 brushery, but really the idea was this is an investment we're making. Like that takes up, real estate space in an urban setting. It's not inexpensive to have one of these things in our what we call our welcome bar, our reception area. It's not an insignificant investment to do that, but that's what makes us Dental Done Differently, and that's what starts right off the bat, setting different expectations for our patients and helping them see that this is something that really caters to them. That's another big part of hospitality, is they want to feel like it's an experience that's been personalized for them. So
Yes.
I was one of those skeptics too. I was like, that's interesting that we're doing that. But sure enough, as I spent just even a little bit of time at 10 before I came on board, I was like, oh, people love
It
this. This
works.
makes a lot of sense.
It
And
works.
it maybe not it doesn't make sense for a totally different demographic in a different setting, but for here it does.
That's amazing. All right. So obviously 10, you don't stop at the spa like waiting bar or welcome bar or the brusheries, right? There is a true strong operational backbone to scale this experience. So I would love to learn a little bit about how the organization has matured from, before your time to now, 4.5 years in. What do you think has been the help and guiding force behind that growth?
Well, we're going through that true company life cycle. When I came on board, we were very much in that startup phase where we
Okay.
were trying all kinds of cool new stuff, but being really thoughtful about it, right? Let's fail fast. We made investments in certain areas that really paid off in an incredible way and helped really define the brand. And then, of course, you make some other investments and say, yeah, it turns out our patients don't really care about that, and it's not really doing anything for us, so we'll move on from that. So when I came on board, it was still startup phase, and that was a really exciting time. It's still an exciting time as we then got into more of becoming a more mature, a high growth company, and that's when that operational maturity comes into play. And you just make sure that as you're creating real lean operations, efficient scalability. We For me, it was not making the mistakes that sometimes other growing companies can make. You start to encounter a one-off issue and say, well, we have to write an SOP for this. And then before you know it, there's this giant book of rules that no one reads. And you start to strip away that individuality. And in
Yes.
healthcare, that can also mean clinical autonomy, which of course is really important, right? So for us, we as we became more operationally mature, we made sure to still retain more frameworks than scripts, right? More frameworks than SOPs. Like we want our providers, if they're going to put out high levels of hospitality, surprise and delight is a phrase we use commonly.
Okay.
We borrowed from the hospitality industry. Like, let's blow people's minds, not just give them a cleaning or do a filling. Let's blow people's minds. And if we're going to do that on the front lines, that team can't have a giant book
Nope.
of SOPs. Okay, this happened. Therefore must do. No, no, no. You got to let people be themselves in the front lines. And so we're now in a high growth phase, operation mature. We're growing again with a number of innovations, and it's still an exciting time to be at 10. It's just exciting for a whole bunch of other reasons.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, that makes perfect sense. Exciting innovations. This, I think, is what makes you stand out as an organization, right? Your willingness to try new things, especially as it sort of enhances that individualized patient experience and the experience for your clinicians, right? So that brings me to the topic of AI, right? What prompted you to explore AI at 10?
I was an early adopter. I remember it was a few years ago, so I was maybe a couple of years into 10 when ChatGPT launched, and I think that's what
Mhm.
got and captured most people's imaginations. What can we do with this, right?
Yep.
How is the world going to change? And certainly that's the case in healthcare. Now, people have been working on image analysis, AI assisted image analysis for some time, certainly before ChatGPT came out. But as that workflow was perfected, as it became truly integrated with practice management software, as it got smarter, it just became in and of itself something that was really special that we had to, of course, pay attention to. And I think it's just the beginning, right? We really enjoy our partnership with Videa Health. We really consider that to be a strategic partnership, and we're really excited to see as they continue to develop beyond just 2D image analysis, where that technology can go as it integrates with a PMS. We're really excited to develop that with them together.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. We share that sentiment. So we talk about things like building trust with patients using visual aids and the data-backed, treatment planning and insights, things like this. Was there a specific challenge that you were trying to solve when you just started to think about this as an initiative? Or was it, this is part of that brand, the innovation and tech stack that we provide for our providers and our patients? That was something more along those lines. What did that look like?
The first thing we wanted to solve was clinical calibration.
Okay.
We respect clinical autonomy first and foremost. We also have to adhere to standards of care. And so there's this kind of, line to walk as someone who's in, call it management administration, of I want you to be you. I want you to have your autonomy, but I also have to hold you to clinical standards. And
Right.
I found that look, one of the most common diagnostic procedures we do is read x-rays, and to read it for the presence and intensity and severity of decay, but also presence and severity of bone loss. Those are absolutely things that can be subjective. I mean, it's literally not black and white, and it
Yep.
is literally shades of gray,
Yes.
right? And so, you can read the research, of course, about how sensitive the human eye is compared to what AI can do. Of course, that's absolutely true. For us, I just really wanted to make sure our dentists and hygienists were standardized, a bit more calibrated on saying this is bone loss, this is not bone loss. A lot of our patients are, because they're young urban professionals, relatively high oral health IQ. They tend to be in earlier stages of gum disease,
Yeah.
of periodontal disease, and so it can get a little tricky to say,
Mhm.
is that some bone loss? Is it not? How much am I seeing it all? That's hard to do. Let's admit that that's hard to do, and it just becomes so much more objective when we use technology like Video Health. And of course, the same with tooth decay. So that was the first problem we wanted to solve. Was we just want that clinical quality. We want our lead dentists and our lead hygienists to be able to, give great mentorship and guidance to their teams. And that just meant we get on the same page and get
Mhm.
more objective with this stuff. That was really the first problem we wanted to solve. But this happy accident that came along the way, this happy
I love
other
a happy
opportunity,
accident.
love a happy accident. You got to pivot. You got to you got to be able to absorb that. Is we discovered this is really helping us on our mission to provide an innovative hospitality experience. So how does AI help with hospitality? It helps a lot. Our goal to create a personalized experience, to not just say you have cavities, so you got to get fillings. What's really important for us is to educate our patients, but then also be able to show them what we're seeing. And I would imagine the vast majority of dentists and hygienists are showing patients their x-rays.
Right.
I would certainly hope so. And saying, you see this here, this looks like this, and whatever. It just becomes so much easier with your technology, right? That we get to light up the screen like a Christmas tree with the yellows, the reds, the oranges of bone loss. Like, that just becomes so much more immediate, not just to calibrate our providers, but to communicate
Mm.
with our patients. And so, it wasn't uncommon for us in particular. Like, we think about common issues our patients have. A common issue for us is we have a patient who's in their, say late 20s. They got their first job in the big city. So they moved to New York, they moved to DC or Boston, or, wherever we have our locations. And, they had their lovely dentist for so many years back in their hometown. They come to us and we go, oh boy, there's some cavities here. And that's a tough conversation to have,
It
and every
is.
dentist and hygienist has to have that conversation. We had to have it a bunch, and so, what we would normally do is if we weren't able to build that trust, and of course you walk a tightrope. You don't want to throw your colleague under the bus and say, "I'm not sure why they didn't say anything." That's tough, right? What we would often do before this technology came to us was we would be like, well, if you want a second opinion, we'll get you your x-rays, you can take it to someone else. Now we've got the second opinion in the chair
Automatically. Mhm.
automatically, right? So goal is, we've got a hygienist that's presenting this. They're more confident in presenting what they see because the AI is supporting what they're seeing. And they're introducing this. Now it's hygienist is opinion one, AI is opinion two, then the dentist walks in the room. That's
Mhm.
opinion three. And that just helps
Yep.
that conversation so much more, and it helps us on our mission to innovate in hospitality.
That's amazing. Yeah, the power of three. It's true. I want to backtrack just slightly here. But how did you introduce it? Was it something that you were getting asked about? Did your providers want this? Were they not receptive to it? What is it that you did to really fully implement this, from a top-down perspective? And also, what do you think really made it stick for them, right? You talked about it's easy for them to have these conversations. It's making them a little bit more confident in their delivery. Is that enough for them to think about, "Yes, I wanna incorporate this," or did you get that kickback?
We didn't get pushback. What I would say is we learned how to adopt it better. I mean, Video Health has a really strong implementation team to show, like, here's where the buttons are, and here's how to use this, and here's how to talk about it. So that was really so important for us as we rolled this out. But we did pilot first, and for us, I think we love to pilot. We love to get some data, and we did have some learnings from that pilot. And I would suggest how your dental practice incorporates this technology can certainly look a little different
Sure.
from the way we do, right? So there's plenty of practice out there where you don't meet the hygienist first, you meet the dentist, and that's perfectly fine. That's a wonderful way to do it. So how the AI software comes up in the conversation can look a little different, right? So for us, it was just perfecting those workflows, and what we really learned, again, this is for Tend, was the dentist should not be the first person mentioning AI. It really should be in what some people would call a preheat. It's
Mhm.
really in that hygienist start building that relationship and starting to explain what they see, where their areas of concern are. That's when that is the perfect time for AI to come into that conversation. Those are the kind of things we learned from the pilot, and once we got that real set, we knew then how to implement in the rest of our practices.
That's amazing. Are there any other, qualitative or quantitative results that you're seeing now that Video AI is fully operational? Things like, treatment planning, conversion, case acceptance, overall just patient, comfort with, the tool that's now being incorporated into that workflow?
Yeah, we've noticed an increase in diagnostic rate of tooth decay and of bone loss. So that makes sense
Seeing
that you
more,
should see
right?
that, right?
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
we're seeing absolute improvement there, which is great. And what I'm more excited about is, at this level, you tend to look at averages. It's really nice to be able to see, at the practice level or even down to the provider level to be able to get a sense of, you know, hey, we're driving improvement. We're getting that calibration that we were seeking initially, right? So that's been wonderful. We are seeing an improvement in conversion, and that makes sense too, right? You just have that second opinion before the dentist third opinion comes in. You're just, and I think we're really seeing it around perio, which is interesting.
Mm, okay.
That makes sense. We're seeing more improvement with diagnosing perio. Again, we've got a lot of mild cases, and it makes sense that that's the harder thing to communicate effectively and consistently with our patient
Yeah.
population. So getting some more objectivity there should definitely see some growth, and we have.
That's amazing. So you have clearly blended hospitality, technology, and clinical care. I think in a way that very few are. What's next for Tend? What is exciting you most, whether it's just Tend in general or AI?
I mean, we're just scratching the surface with AI.
Mhm.
Our CEO Brian Boma is leading an AI roadmap where we're going to be looking at all the ways that this technology can help us deliver our innovation in healthcare and our innovation in hospitality promise. We're in the midst of an industrial revolution.
Mhm.
These are incredible times in the world, in any industry, but certainly in healthcare and certainly in dentistry. So we're just excited to get up and down on all the ways AI is enhancing our workflows and 2xing outputs. It does not replace our dentists. It does not replace our hygienists, our dental. It's not replacing our clinical teams, even our clinical support teams, but it's improving their output. And if you look at the research from the ADA's chief economist, Dr. Marko Vujicic, he's been talking for years now about this profit margin squeeze,
Mm.
right? Where reimbursements from insurances are not necessarily going up; they're maybe flat or even decreasing some areas. The cost of doing business tends to go up. Dentistry and many industries are getting squeezed. And so one of the ways to combat that is to figure out how we can do more with less. How do we take one person's level of productivity and 1.5, 2x it, 3x it with technology like this. So we're really excited to see where it goes next.
That's amazing. I am looking for one advice nugget from you. What would you say to any other DSO that or practice leader that may be looking to implement, VideaAI or other imaging AI technologies? Is there something that you would share that you learned along the way, or something that would help guide them in this process?
Yeah, dig in, just dive in, like just do it. Pull the trigger, do a pilot. If you're concerned about rolling it out across all the locations, just find your core area. Make sure you've got trusted teams. You need to have a real strong dental team, hygiene team. They're the ones that are in the front lines using this technology, and check in with them continually. How's, like, on a weekly basis, how's it going? What are you seeing? And then rely, of course, on the data to see. Not uncommon. You may see a dentist be like, "Oh, I'm seeing all the stuff. I wasn't going to miss any." How are they going to say, "Oh yeah, I definitely would have missed that one."
Yeah,
Right. But you're still getting their buy-in, their engagement, and getting their takes, which are really important to incorporate. But then use the data to be like, okay, yeah, we're definitely catching more stuff right now. And so I would just say, don't be afraid to do a pilot, pull the trigger on that. Do regular check-ins with the team. Be really clear on what your KPIs are. For us, it was diagnostic rate and it was conversion. And I think you'll find, relatively quickly that you're going to be left far behind if you're not including this technology in your tech stack.
absolutely. Well said. All right, just for fun, if you had to describe the future of dentistry in 3 words, what would they be? Ooh, the eye roll. Keep the sit back, the deep breath, and the eye roll. You're really thinking about this one.
3 words.
Yes.
Oh, um, I'll do a contraction. It's technically 4 words, but I'll do a
I'll allow it.
contraction to just sneak it in. Thank you. Sky's the limit. We're at a point where yes, the macroeconomic factors are what they are, but I think that this is an incredible opportunity to have really successful businesses that provide incredible oral health outcomes to patients in ways that we could only dream of 10 or 20 years ago. So sky's the limit.
That's amazing. Dr. Chris, thank you so much. You gave us a behind the scenes look at how Tend really continues to set the bar. And I'm just so grateful to have you here to share your insight and your experience. From hospitality to AI, obviously, you've shown that innovation doesn't have to compromise care. It really does truly elevate it. So, to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more episodes of Video Health's Mic Drop. Thank you.